Listen closely. Not every wound was an accident. Not every silence was innocent. Not every betrayal was confusion. Some people knew exactly what they were doing and they did it anyway. They tested your patience, crossed your boundaries, dismissed your worth, and watched to see how much you would tolerate. This is not a message of bitterness. This is a message of awakening. They hurt you on purpose because you allowed access without standards. They disrespected you because you taught them it was acceptable. They underestimated you because you stayed quiet when you should have stood tall. Pain reveals the truth in ways comfort never could. When everything is easy, people can pretend, masks stay on, and intentions remain hidden behind smiles and promises. The moment pressure enters your life, the moment you struggle, the moment you say no, the moment you stop giving more than you receive, that is when reality shows itself. Pain strips away illusions. It shows you who listens and who only waits to speak. It shows you who stays and who disappears. It shows you who respects you and who only benefits from you. This kind of truth can feel brutal because it destroys the version of reality you wanted to believe in, but it gives you the version you need to grow. Most people don't fear pain itself, they fear what pain will expose. They fear realizing they trusted the wrong people. They fear seeing that their loyalty was one-sided. They fear understanding that some relationships were built on convenience, not care. Pain forces you to confront fact without emotional filters. It reveals patterns you ignored, red flags you excused, and behaviors you normalized just to keep peace. And once you see these things clearly, you cannot unsee them. That clarity is uncomfortable, but it is also powerful. Pain teaches you how people truly value you, not through words, but through actions when it costs them something. When you are no longer useful, when you stop agreeing, when you need support instead of giving it, the truth becomes visible. Some people pull away. Some become distant. Some turn cold. This is not because you changed for the worse, but because the dynamic changed. Pain shows you that access to you is mistaken for ownership of you, and when that illusion breaks, their behavior changes. Pain also reveals your relationship with yourself. It shows you how much disrespect you tolerate, how often you silence your instincts, and how willing you are to betray your own boundaries, to avoid loneliness or conflict. Every painful moment carries a message about where you abandoned yourself. Maybe you stayed quiet when something felt wrong. Maybe you kept giving chances to someone who showed you who they were repeatedly. Maybe you accepted less because you were afraid of losing more. Pain highlights these moments so you can correct them. There's a reason pain feels intense when the truth comes out. Your mind is adjusting to reality after living in hope. Hope without awareness is dangerous because it keeps you invested in situations that drain you. Pain pulls you back into awareness. It wakes you up. It forces you to stop romanticizing people and start observing them. It shifts your focus from how things could be to how things actually are. When you understand this, pain stops being something you run from and starts being something you study. You begin asking better questions. What did this situation show me? What behavior did I excuse? What boundary did I fail to enforce? What version of myself did I abandon to keep others comfortable? These questions turn pain into wisdom. They turn suffering into insight. They transform emotional wounds into mental clarity. Pain reveals who deserves proximity and who deserves distance. Not everyone who has history with you has a future with you. Some people are lessons, not lifelong companions. Pain makes this distinction clear. It teaches you that loyalty to the wrong people is self-betrayal and that protecting your energy is not selfish. It is necessary. You begin to understand that peace is more valuable than approval, and clarity is more valuable than attachment. Pain also removes the need for explanations. Once the truth is revealed, you stop arguing with reality. You stop chasing closure from people who lack accountability. You stop trying to be understood by those who benefit from misunderstanding you. Pain shows you that closure is an internal decision, not an external conversation. It happens when you accept what someone showed you and stop expecting them to become someone else. As painful as it is, truth is lighter than illusion. Illusion keeps you stuck. overthinking, replaying moments, and questioning your worth. Truth, even when it hurts, simplifies everything. It tells you where to stand, who to trust, and what to let go of. It clears mental noise and emotional confusion. It sharpens your awareness and strengthens your intuition. Over time, you realize pain was not trying to break you. It was trying to educate you. It was trying to teach you discernment. It was trying to push you towards self-respect. Every painful experience adds another layer of understanding, another filter through which you see the world more clearly. You become less naive, less reactive, and more intentional. You stop mistaking attention for care and words for commitment. You start reading behavior without needing translation. Pain reveals the truth not to punish you but to prepare you. It prepares you to choose better, to move smarter, and to stand firmer in who you are. It shows you that not everything you lose is a loss, and not everything that hurts is harmful. Some pain arrives as destruction but leaves behind direction, awareness, and strength that comfort could never give you. Standards change everything because they quietly redefine how the world is allowed to treat you. Not through arguments, not through explanations, but through consistent behavior. People don't respond to what you say you deserve. They respond to what you tolerate. Every time you accept disrespect, you send a signal. Every time you stay silent when something crosses your boundaries, you teach others how far they can go. Standards are not rules you announce to the world. They are lines you refuse to let anyone cross. Low standards invite chaos. They invite manipulation, inconsistency, and emotional exhaustion. When your standards are unclear, people test you, push limits, and take what they can. Not always because they are evil, but because human nature looks for ease. If access to you comes without responsibility, people will take advantage of it. This is why raising your standards often feels uncomfortable at first. You are changing a pattern that others benefited from, and not everyone will be happy about that shift. When you raise your standards, you don't become arrogant, cold, or heartless. You become selective. You begin to understand that your time, energy, and attention are valuable resources. You stop giving unlimited access to people who give you minimal respect. You stop over-explaining your feelings to people who already showed they don't listen. You stop chasing validation and start enforcing alignment. This is where everything begins to change. Standards expose intentions faster than words ever could. When you stop tolerating bare minimum effort, those who were only present out of convenience fall away. When you no longer accept excuses, inconsistency reveals itself. When you expect accountability, people either rise to the occasion or remove themselves. This is not loss, this is filtration. Standards filter out those who were never meant to stay. Many people fear raising their standards because they confuse it with losing people. What they don't realize is that keeping low standards costs more. It costs self-respect. It costs mental clarity. It costs emotional stability. It costs years of your life spent negotiating your worth. High standards don't make your circle smaller by force. They make it smaller by truth. Only those who respect you, value you, and align with you can remain. Standards also change how you see yourself. The moment you decide that certain behavior is no longer acceptable, something shifts internally. You stop questioning whether you're asking for too much. You stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. You stop feeling guilty for protecting your peace. This internal shift is powerful because self-respect is contagious. When you respect yourself, others either follow suit or fall out of your life. Raising your standards requires discipline because consistency is what makes them real. It's easy to say you won't tolerate disrespect, but it's harder to walk away when it comes from someone you care about. It's easy to demand honesty, but it's harder to leave when lies are familiar. This is where most people fail. They set standards verbally, but abandon them emotionally. True standards are enforced through action, not emotion. When you enforce your standards, you stop negotiating with red flags. You stop hoping potential will replace behavior. You stop believing promises without proof. You begin to understand that effort is a language, consistency is a signal, and respect is demonstrated, not declared. This clarity saves you from unnecessary suffering. It keeps you from repeating the same lessons with different faces. Standards also teach people how to interact with you. When you don't tolerate disrespect once, it rarely happens twice. When you don't accept inconsistency, people learn to show up, correctly or not at all. When you value your time, others stop wasting it. This is not about control, it's about alignment. You are not forcing people to change. You are allowing them to reveal whether they can meet you where you stand. As your standards rise, your tolerance for drama drops. You become less reactive, less emotional, and less available for chaos. You don't need to prove your worth, because your boundaries already do that for you. You don't need to chase, because what aligns with you will recognize your value without persuasion. This creates a sense of calm power, where you move with intention instead of impulse. Raising your standards will challenge old versions of yourself. The version that stayed too long, the version that explained too much, the version that accepted crumbs just to feel chosen. Letting go of that version is not easy, but it is necessary. Growth demands that you outgrow behaviors that once kept you safe but now keep you small. When your standards change, your life changes, conversations change, relationships change, opportunities change. You stop attracting what drains you and start aligning with what respects you. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but every time you choose self-respect over comfort, you reinforce a new identity. One that no longer begs, tolerates, or settles. Discipline is the comeback because it is the only response that pain cannot defeat. Motivation fades, emotions fluctuate, people leave, situations change, but discipline remains when everything else collapses. When you've been hurt, the instinct is to react emotionally, to seek validation, to explain yourself, to prove your worth. Discipline takes a different path. It turns inward. It says rebuild, not react. Improve, not impress. Strengthen, not complain. Discipline is choosing growth when no one is watching. It is waking up when you don't feel like it. It is keeping promises you made to yourself when breaking them would be easier. Pain gives you energy, but discipline gives that energy direction. Without discipline, pain turns into bitterness, self-pity, or distraction. With discipline, pain becomes structure, focus, and transformation. This is why discipline is dangerous in the best way possible. Discipline doesn't ask for sympathy. It doesn't announce its plans. It works quietly, daily, consistently. While others talk about what they went through, discipline builds a version of you that no longer needs to talk. It turns emotional chaos into routine. It replaces overthinking with execution. It takes the scattered pieces of your confidence and rebuilds them through action, not affirmation. When you choose discipline, you stop waiting to feel ready. You stop waiting to feel healed. You stop waiting for closure. You move anyway. Discipline understands that clarity comes after action, not before it. You don't need to feel strong to act strong. Acting strong is what builds strength. Every disciplined action, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you are becoming. Discipline teaches you self-trust. Every time you follow through, you rebuild confidence that pain tried to take from you. Every completed task, every kept routine, every moment you choose effort over escape reinforces a powerful message to your mind. You are reliable. This inner trust is unshakable because it is earned, not given. No one can take it from you because no one gave it to you. Discipline also removes the need for revenge. When you are fully focused on building yourself, you don't have time to obsess over who wronged you. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your progress becomes your response. Your consistency becomes your closure. You stop measuring your worth by how others treated you and start measuring it by how you treat yourself. Pain often makes people look outward for answers. Discipline forces you to look inward for responsibility. Not blame, responsibility. Responsibility for your habits, your mindset, your direction. This shift is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. You can no longer say you're stuck because of what happened. Discipline reminds you that while you didn't choose the pain, you choose the response. Discipline simplifies life. It reduces chaos by creating structure. When emotions are loud, discipline is quiet and steady. It tells you when to work, when to rest, when to disconnect, and when to push. This structure creates stability, and stability creates power. You become less reactive because your life has rhythm. You become less distracted because your priorities are clear. There will be days when discipline feels pointless, days when progress feels invisible, days when old wounds resurface, and the urge to quit feels strong. Discipline doesn't negotiate with those feelings. It acknowledges them and moves forward anyway. This is where transformation happens, not in the dramatic moments, but in the ordinary days where you show up without applause. Discipline changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who survives something and start seeing yourself as someone who is building something. This shift is subtle but profound. You no longer define yourself by what hurt you, but by what you are creating. Your past becomes information, not an identity. As discipline strengthens, distractions lose their power. You no longer numb pain with avoidance. You no longer chase temporary comfort. You begin choosing long-term respect over short-term relief. This is maturity. This is control. This is how you reclaim your life piece by piece. Discipline makes you dangerous to your old limitations. The version of you that doubted, hesitated, and tolerated less begins to fade. In its place stands someone calm, focused, and grounded, not because life became easier, but because you became stronger through consistent effort. This is why discipline is the comeback. Not because it looks impressive, but because it works. Not because it feels good, but because it builds something real. It turns pain into purpose, chaos into clarity, and weakness into structure through daily action, quiet resilience, and relentless self-respect.